Toastmasters, and especially you, Charles. Charles just gave his ninth speech. The ninth speech is Persuade with Power. The goals of this speech were to persuade your listeners to adopt your viewpoint or idea, appeal to the audience's self-interest, support your argument with logic and emotion, and avoid using those. Persuade with power. Of all of the speeches in the Toastmaster manual, number 9 is the one that is most relevant to lawyers and law students. I don't ordinarily use the checklist in the manual as the basis for my evaluation, but because all of the things on the checklist are something that law students and lawyers should be acutely aware of and practice every time they speak to persuade, I'm going to go over those one at a time. Charles, it was a good speech. It's amazing how much you've improved since the time you first started. I don't think you were ever nervous really about giving speeches. You always seem very comfortable up here. But the things that you did not so well at the beginning, you're doing much better now, like keeping on point a little bit better and managing your time a little bit better so that you speak within the limits that were given you. But let me talk about the specific things that were on the checklist. First of all, sincerity and conviction. I defy you to find a more sincere person than Charles Monk. Well, that's just who you are. Credible sources of information. Yes, he backed up his argument that we should change the world with citations to other leading thinkers who have had contrary ideas or similar ideas, so that was good. Phrase the appeal in terms of the audience self-interest. I think maybe there's a little work to be done there. In terms of persuasion, what lawyers do, appealing to the audience's self-interest is paramount, because people are more likely to act when they have a clear incentive to do so than any other time. And when you're in the courtroom arguing to a jury, you've got to show them why this decision in favor of your client is really a decision in their own best interest. So think about how you could persuade people to think, not act, so they really want to do it because it's the right thing for them, not just for you. Okay, opening, capture the audience's interest. What happened is in your opening you explained the purpose of your speech, and we should never have to explain what the purpose of our speech is when we come up. We should get right into that catchy opening. We need to work on how we introduce our speakers a little bit more in this club so that people don't feel compelled to do this. I think a more appropriate opening, I was trying to think of what I would say if I were going to give that speech, and I would say something like, my fellow Toastmasters, the world is on fire. For the past 150 years, the world has been on fire, and the fuel for that fire is ideology. People acting out of ideology has caused more death and conflict, and continues to cause death and conflict today, this very day. My fellow Toastmasters, I want to urge you, before you act out of ideology, to think about those ideas. Something like that, okay, to really set the stage and get people to think, oh yeah, ideology, bad things have happened as a result, maybe I should think. Okay, an opening like that. Use facts and logic. You have a lot of facts in there. Some of them were relevant, some of them were, do I really need to know the date of the moon picture or which mission it was? Probably not. So the picture was never. But you have a lot of facts. Logic could have been beefed up a little bit, I think. And you have to tailor the balance between facts and logic on the one hand and emotion on the other to the audience you're speaking to. This is an audience, I think, that's going to respond well to logic. So I put a little bit more logic in there, perhaps. Use emotion properly. Well, on the one hand, yes, you did use emotion because you were very positive in the way you presented it. On the other hand, there was not that appeal to really get us motivated to act that I would expect in a speech where you're asking people to change the way things are done on a worldwide basis. You really got to have that passion that's going to drive people. So maybe work on that a little bit more. Effective organization, there were a few digressions, but mostly you stayed on target. Body language and vocal variety. This is where you made huge strides, because you used to move around a lot on the stage. This time you stayed relatively in one place, which is an effective way to use PowerPoint because you don't want to be constantly walking back and forth in front of your slides. So that was well done. What could you improve on this speech? The opening, the emotional appeal, change the way you presented the logic, perhaps, and appeal to the audience's self-interest. What did I like? I like seeing you mature as a speaker to the point where you can come up and give a speech that everybody can follow. It's not too abstract, it's not too theoretical, it's something that we can all understand. You've made huge strides there, and I look really forward to hearing your number 10 speech. Madam Master,